reveal?
Just kind of a lot of staying happy, getting healthy, staying sharp, staying in shape. Without an opponent, it's kind of a weird place to be because we've had opponents on the horizon for such a long time. So a combination of individual workouts, strength and conditioning, very limited contact, lots of cardio, a lot of shooting. Give them the weekend. I will go really hard up till Friday. Give them the weekend, Saturday, Sunday off. Bring them back Monday. Get our opponent practice without an opponent again on Monday. Get our opponent that night. A lot of preparation things. A lot of getting our minds right to potentially be sequestered in a hotel for a large period of time. How that takes its toll on you. It's a draining process that we want to be as ready for as we can. So we're working towards those things as well. Get our opponent on Monday, practice on Tuesday, practice and travel Wednesday.
Jason, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Just wonder how the team's mentality is right now after, the SEC tournament exit, and just kind of what you guys have been like as you've been together the last couple of days.
Was really, I think like we've talked about a number of times, self-awareness is a really good quality this team has. They wanted to win as many games down there as they could. When they didn't, they moved past it pretty fast. Gave the credit to Ole Miss, who played incredibly inspired. We did not fare very well in our first attempt at being the better seed in the tournament. We know that is probably going to be the case again in the NCAA tournament. So we tried to learn from that, but they've been good. They know we're 8-2 in our last 10 games. They know we've played at a really high level for a large portion of that. We watched some of the clips. We got great shots. We didn't make them. 7 for 31. We took 2 bad shots. So say 7 for 29. I don't think we do that again on most nights. So there wasn't any lingering effect to the loss. I think more so a learning experience for what the trip gave us, the being back in a hotel gave us, and then facing an opponent who was really, really inspired to play.
Paul, go ahead.
I was going to ask about just the heavy load. I noticed I've kind of added in the past month, you got 3 that have played in the neighborhood of 35 minutes a night. Does this work in their favor to have a little bit of downtime where you can kind of monitor what they do, or is that part of what you've done? Does it lead into what you've done over the past little bit in practice as well?
They'll have the same workload. They'll have the same number of minutes on their legs. Just won't have games against an opponent. We'll simulate games. Today's game day. We got best of 7 series going today, red versus white. But 35 minutes late in the year, that's pretty common. If you look at what's happening at the teams that are in the top 15 and top 25, they've got kids averaging more than that. So I like where the rotations are at, like where the depth's at. They're all as healthy as you can expect, being from a team that has played more games than anybody to date in the country. So we won't change anything. We'll keep it rolling. We just won't have an opponent that's not part of our team the rest of the day. This is one of those times of year where you go back and you reflect a lot. One of the things that's really been hard this year is to do what we've done without a men's practice team. It wasn't a rule that you could not have. It was a decision we made to not have. A lot of teams had it. A lot of teams are still using it. But that's one thing I think we're going to look back on and think that, we've had to overcome not having that. So we'll do that again, but I'm not going to change it this last week of the season, so their loads on their legs will be, they'll be as fresh as they've been in a while. I do think that. So probably to your point, yeah, it will be helpful.
Okay. Russell, go ahead.
It was this time last year when, everything got shut down. We're waiting to find out where you're going. Have you had time to reflect on just what you've been through this year overall, or are you too focused on where you're headed right now?
I probably wouldn't have had, but we're doing a little thing around campus. So the 1-year anniversary. So we had a little set down. So I did do that, but yeah, I have. And it's I'm going to tell you what, I think that we have learned a lot of things, a lot more things moving forward that we're going to continue to do that are beneficial than like challenges. Like the challenges were what they were. You have challenges every year, but I think we learned a lot of things that we can do in a positive manner, even when the pandemic's not here. And that's what I'm really trying to focus a lot on is how do we take what we've learned from the pandemic and maybe make us better when we don't have the protocols, and what really drove winning. You know, what was really important. How important are shoot arounds? How important is traveling the day before a game? You know, it's not going to be us. I'm going to talk to my friends. I'm going to talk to other people that were in similar situations and see if there's not some things that we can't learn from it. But I can tell you the biggest takeaway, Russell, is that the appreciation level that these kids have displayed is at an all-time high. You know, I've been around teams at this time of the year have a little bit of sense of entitlement. Like, man, where's our NCAA gear? Where's our new stuff? That's not coming out of this group. They just want to know what the plan is. Are we getting to play? Are we still going to get to play? So I do think that group is going to be one that kind of now sets the bar for what you're supposed to be acting like during this week. And I think because they did go through that, you know, thinking, prepping, doing all this, I don't think it'll really hit us till that Sunday, because that was kind of that week leading into the weekend, because we had such anticipation, because we did feel like we were in the NCAA tournament last year. I felt like it was a lock. Every person that I trusted that knows anything about the history of and college basketball said y'all were in, but still not to see your name come across is a little bit of a void. You know, and I'll be thinking about Kiera and Lex, you know, when that day comes on Monday, that anticipation of, you know, when the bracket pops up and it's a seed line that you expect to see, hey, this could be us. This could be us. You know, I hope they're able to tune in and watch it, or maybe Kiera be here with us. Lex is across too far away, but I do think there's a level of appreciation that's good to see. And, you know, this group of kids has been through enough adversity of being a college student added onto that. I think they're going to look back at it as a really time in their life that probably set some values for the rest of their life.
Jason, go ahead.
You've been a part of this program for a long time. I know you were gone for a while, but when that name does pop up on Monday, knowing you should have been there last year, I mean, just what goes through your head knowing where you want to get the program? Going to be a 4 or 5 seed probably.
Yeah.
What's that going to be like for you, knowing when you got here where it was to where you've got it now, and trying to build towards that even more in the future?
This is the most anticipated one ever that I've been a part of. You know, we've had some years where we didn't know, and you had that type of excitement. But because I know the joy that's going to bring a large number of people, you know, I know we haven't technically been to back-to-back NCAA tournaments, but the being in the conversation, the not being on the bubble conversation is a cool place to be. That means that you have gotten it to a point to where everybody that does follow this assumes and looks at the evidence of what you've done throughout the year and puts you into that field, one of the top 33 at-large bids. And the past history, the excitement from being a Razorback fan, will be it'll be short-lived because I'll have to get to work really quick, but I'll allot a couple hours to reach out and talk to just people that have been here and help make it possible. And you know, I'd like to tell you I'm a bigger person than to kind of send a few digs on people that said we couldn't do it. I'll get my money's worth in there too, to the people that were against us, because there are always those, and we know it. And I wish deep down I was a better person, but I'm not. I'll get my point across to the people that thought it was a mistake to come to Arkansas, come back. I'll make sure those people know loudly and clearly that they were wrong.
And just where both men's and women's programs are right now, 2-3 seed for them,
Yeah.
4 or 5 for you. I mean, I don't remember a time, because even when the Final Four year in '98, the men weren't where they are now. So
And the women were 9 seed.
Yeah. And so, I mean, just like, I think this is the height of both programs being
Yep.
where they are, together. So
That thing that Andy Katz put out, that's the combined rankings. I don't know if y'all saw that, but that was pretty cool to see our name up there in the top 5. And then Coach Musk tweeted out, about the culture in our building. And it does. It makes us all better when we're both good. And the kids are all down there in the same training room, and they're pulling for each other. And you got, our players, congratulating the men's players, and the men's players, congratulating our women's players. That does not happen everywhere. That is outside of the norm. So very, very special. I looked up, this will be if we do get, even if we get a 5 seed, it'll still be the highest seed in SEC history. I think the highest before that was a 6 seed. So, and then I'm not sure where they fall on the men's line as being the highest, but it's the highest since a long time. But it's just, it's cool to walk down the hall and everybody be in a good mood, and go out in the parking lot and see Courtney Doffel. They won like 16 straight. I mean, it's all the way across this campus right now. But for both programs to be doing it and doing it in this type of a year under the circumstances that we faced to do it, I don't think we could have gotten through it separated. If we were not where we are with people that we share the building with, I don't think either one of us would have had the success and gotten through the tough times. I mean, we had our little stretch there where the schedule flipped around on us, and the men had the schedule, but nobody was down on anybody. Nobody was doom and gloom. It was all, hey, we know what's coming, and we see the work that's being done. And there's a mutual respect that, like I said, is outside of, it's more of an outlier than it is expected.
Paul, go ahead.
Just this 2-week period when you've been a school that has played the most games of anybody in the country. Does the mentality to keep this thing going? What's that like over this next couple of weeks, Mike?
It's got to be there, because I know there's going to be teams in San Antonio that just get tired and just go, you know what? We've reached our point of our happiness. We won a game, or some teams it's going to be just getting there. Some teams it's going to be one game. Some teams it's going to be Sweet 16. So really trying to make sure our focus is just simply on what's the next thing on the agenda. Is it be quarantined in your room for the next 6 hours? All right, well, kick that's butt. Kick butt in there. Watch Ted Lasso or watch whatever you're going to watch and kick its butt. Kick that quarantine's butt. Because their teams are going to run out of patience. They're going to run out of energy. And they're going to say, hey, you know what? We had a good year. I'm satisfied. And it's going to show up when you hit the floor. And I want to make sure that's not if we lose because we go 7 for 31, no problem. But I don't want it to be because we're tired and we don't want to be there anymore. But when you give them the assignment to pack for 24 days, have y'all ever packed for 24 days in a row? I mean, you'd have to think about it if you have. I know I haven't. That even goes back to the old days when we used to go recruiting. I'd pack for 12 or 14 days, but 24 days. That's a long time. And mentally, as you're doing it, you're thinking, it's dawning on you as you're trying to figure out if you've got enough, T-shirts and shorts to lay around, and are you going to need the super-sized toothpaste instead of the travel size? And it can get wearing on you. So we'll try to Jedi mind trick them some, Paul, along the way. But I think not talking about it is a mistake. We got to talk about it to be prepared for it. So as much physical, as much mental as physical, these 2 weeks, something that none of us have been through again. Nobody's got the playbook or the blueprint on how to successfully do it. And that's what has been so exhausting about this year, is the worry that everything you do is either right or wrong. Am I doing it? Are we doing this right? And the exhaustiveness of those decisions has an accumulating effect that I hope we're all able to get through together.
Russell, go ahead.
You may not know who you're playing just yet, but you know where you're going. Amber's hometown. what do you expect, out of her this week leading up to that, and maybe not rely on her to go places to eat, but maybe order in?
Yeah, exactly. When she saw that they had gotten the Final Four, it's always been talked about for a long, long time. So even though she's not going to be able to get out and do or see the people maybe that she would have, it's still special for her to be back. She got interviewed by a couple of San Antonio local things last week, and you can just hear it in her voice, a little pep in her step. And just the pride that she's going to say when we drive around and point things out. We're going to do as much of that as we can from the bus. We aren't going to be able to get out and walk through the Alamo, but I'm going to make sure we drive by and see it. I read through that NCAA manual back and forth several times, and there's nothing in there about what route our bus driver takes to and from the gym. So if we get a chance to get out of the hotel, we may take the long way around, just to be outside and see some things. But she's really excited, and more importantly, our teammates are excited for her.
Anything else for Coach?
You mentioned you guys are sequestered a little bit, and just how difficult is that going to be to not, here you get to go to class, you do, or however you guys are handling things. You don't get that on this trip. So if you're there for 24 days, what do you guys do to kind of break up and be, like team activities indoors, or how do you handle that?
We're dusting off the old board games. I was upstairs last night looking at some of these old games. I'm going to pack them and send them down. We're going to take cards. We're going to have a movie night. We're going to do everything we can possibly do to stay sharp and competitive. There'll be some phase 10 tournaments and probably some cornhole bags thrown in there. Nobody can beat me and Coach Todd, though. I know that. So there'll be some runner-ups, but you've got to plan for it. That was the first thing we talked about in our staff meeting. How are we going to handle this? Because we were just in Greenville for a day and a half, and I felt like the walls were closing in on me, and we could go outside. They told Coach Todd he can't even go for a run. He can't leave the hotel and go outside, and he's got to run on the treadmill. So those walls are going to close in on us. There's no doubt about it. So I've been talking to as many people as I can about things we can do. I think talking about it and being open to say, hey, Coach, I need to go to the team room. Let's go down there and watch a movie. Let's go down there and play some cards. I think our kids have to be very aware that it can happen and will happen, and then it's normal. I think there's a reason that prisons are what they are. They're supposed to be a penalizing deal, and those walls get real, and we're in rooms by ourselves. So it's not like you're talking to somebody face to face. You can get on FaceTime, and that helps. But we're going to study and make sure we do everything legally possible to not let it overwhelm us. But I know it's going to be a challenge because it was, like I said, last week, and that was for a very short period of time. And we're going to be there 4 days before we ever even tip it up. So it's, and then the last part of that is I want to make sure that these kids think that going to the NCAA tournament is a cool thing rather than, being a punishment. So we're trying to do as many things ahead of time. But it's hopefully, and I've heard that the NCAA has done a great job making the hotels feel like a big time atmosphere, because it's a cool thing walking in and seeing your name up on posters and seeing your pictures around and having the little bag tags. And they said the NCAA has really been aware of all that stuff. So I'm optimistically hopeful that it will feel like as close to a tournament as we could possibly have under the conditions.
You got the dartboard going?
I told Jeff, I said, I'm not a big plastic darts guy. I don't like the plastic darts anymore. So if we couldn't find a way or sign a waiver that there would be a few holes in the wall, we'd probably better leave them at home and just stick to cards. But I've missed darts and shuffleboard, and my game has slipped, I'm sure.
Other follow-ups for Coach. All right. Well,